Entes están en modo de solo escucha.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending this DEXMA webinar. This webinar is based around the hotel industry, and hopefully you'll learn how to be proactive in energy management and help you save energy and money within the hotel industry. So just to introduce myself, I'm Steve Norman, and I'm the UK Managing Director for DEXMA. With me on the call today, I've got Eduardo Diaz, the sales representative from Satel, and Eduardo is going to be speaking to you all about a project that was done by Satel with NH Hotels. And also on the call I have Gary Bark, who's the Managing Director of Optimised Buildings, who's also going to talk to you a little bit about a project that was done on the Radisson Blu Hotel in the UK. So the agenda for the webinar today will be a quick introduction to DEXMA and the DEXEL product. I'm also just going to describe some of the industry drivers for the hotel industry in what they're looking to in saving energy, saving money, and why they may be looking to do that. At that point, I'll hand over to Eduardo, and Eduardo will talk to you about the project Satel did with NH Hotels. Then on to Gary, who will talk to you about the work Optimised Buildings did with the Radisson. And then at the end, we will be allowing some 10 minutes for some Q&A. And at that point, you can ask any questions about anything you've seen about DEXMA or about the projects that we've been talking about. Okay. So just to give you an overview of DEXMA, DEXMA is the management software. So this energy management software is predominantly used within the corporate and commercial industry, so that includes the hotels industry, very good usage in public administration and also industrial sectors as well. The DEXEL product is the energy management software platform that DEXMA produces and is used by many partners and end customers across the globe. DEXEL product itself is the analytics and reporting software. It's hardware neutral, so it can take data from pretty much any data source, any hardware, any metering and logging equipment. It can take data from your utilities in a variety of different formats as well. And it's the DEXEL Energy Manager software that enables you to visualize, look at your energy use, look at trends, and understand how you can reduce your energy and therefore your costs and carbon emissions. So DEXMA offers our software worldwide. We have a very large number of partners. The software is sold through the partner channel to the end customer. So we have over 130 global partners across the globe and ultimately over 500 end customers on there. As you can see, we have a number of partners, and if I move on, you can see some of our representations of some of the customers that we work with across the globe. So very strong in corporate buildings, in universities and schools. Obviously, the hotel sector that we're talking about today is something that we work very strongly in for a number of reasons that you'll see later on. In the retail and supermarkets, we're very good at taking that data, restaurants, museums, public administration especially, and also across a wide range of industrial and production applications as well. So as I was saying, we have a large number of partners across the globe. We have active projects in multiple regions, so that's across Europe, in the US and Canada, Latin America and the Asian markets. Active projects in over 24 countries, The product itself is fully multilingual, so we have currently 10 languages that the product is available in, and that's growing all the time as we expand into new markets. The platform is very, very strong at storing energy data. So Dexcel itself is the platform that all energy data comes into. There's only one version of the product. It's not multiples installed locally, and we have many millions of data records coming into our platform every day. We have over 30 different hardware vendors that we integrate with, and as you can see, the total area managed by Dexcel is over 9 million square meters of area. So just looking at the energy management value chain, obviously at the bottom we have the hardware and communications systems that are what you'll be using at each site, at each location. Again, some of the companies and vendors that we integrate directly with from the Dexcel product. So there's probably some of those that you recognize, and maybe some of those vendors that you already use in your facilities, in your locations. We also work with any building management systems and SCADA systems to take data from them predominantly through CSV files, and all of that gets pushed into the Dexcel energy management software, from where you can do your analytics and reporting, your bill tracking, your monitoring and targeting, your M&V projects that you'd want to do, all of your benchmarking of your locations, and really visualizing where your trends and where you can save your energy, along of course with any alarms that you may want to set up to be proactive in this. And finally, that enables you to perform some action, some control, to ensure that what you're looking at is being actioned appropriately at your different locations. So the cloud architecture that Dexcel works upon is with the utility meters and the end loggers, Modbus Zigbee, or the BMS systems. They will be pushed up to a gateway at a location, and this can be from a variety of different vendors, including DexGate from Dexma, and that ultimately gets your data up to the internet, up to a TCP backbone of a building, push into the internet, that will go securely over the internet to the Dexcel Energy Manager, which then allows yourself and your users to access the Dexcel product and look at the dashboards and reports on the energy that's being produced. So that was a very quick introduction to Dexma and to the Dexcel product. I'm now just going to very quickly describe what are the hotel industry drivers for looking at energy. So just to give you a quick overview of the market within the hotel industry, there are globally 187,000 hotels, which turns into over 17.5 million rooms that are available for end customers now. That gives you a very, very large market to be looking at, in that within the hotel industry, after a difficult time for them, for a lot of different industries, they're now seeing good returns on their margins, on profit. So they're looking very much to have some budget available to introduce hardware, some logging devices, and also to look at some monitoring of that energy across their portfolio of buildings. So the drivers that the hotel industry look at to be wanting to engage in energy efficiency and energy saving measures are obviously, firstly, to reduce the operating costs of each hotel and to increase their net profit within that. They also see it as a way of improving the hotel's image if they can show through dashboards and visualization in hotel reception areas through large screens, how much energy they're saving, the equivalent in tons of carbon or kilograms of carbon, the energy they've saved this year compared to last year, and just to show a positive trend on what they're doing. This obviously comes from the customers, if you have the opportunity to stay in a energy efficient hotel or a non-energy efficient hotel, the chances are you're going to be going to the better hotel. And obviously hotels also want to reduce their environmental impact, whether, as you have obviously seen in hotels, through the ability to not have your towels clean. They also want to look at just saving energy across their whole locations and portfolio. And as you can see in the green box there, some of the labeling across the globe around this that the hotels look at and would like to display in their foyers and in their reception. So they need using their energy usage and costs to show that. So obviously, the lower the costs that they're producing, of which energy is a large part of, the better their net profit. So as you can see from some of the figures here, the energy is somewhere between 4 and 25 per average at 9% of the operational costs. And that equates to around just over 300 kilowatts square meter on each hotel. As the average net margin is less than 5% on a hotel, you can see that saving energy will have a good impact on the overall net margin of that. That's where hotels are going to be to make a real positive, which drive up revenue. And as you can see in some markets, there are tax reliefs and this as well. So not only are they reducing their energy costs, they're also getting some tax breaks on that, and also it gives a positive image to their customers through that reduced energy consumption. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Eduardo, and Eduardo is going to speak to you about the work that has been done with Satel and NH hotels. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Hello, good afternoon to everyone. Well, first of all, thank you for letting me and letting Satel Spain to participate in this webinar. We are pleased to share our experience with you. Well, my name is Eduardo Diaz. I work in the sales department for Satel Spain. I have closely followed the NH project, and I'm going to proceed to explain, well, from our experience, the implementation of an energy system in the hotel chain NH. As introduction of NH, we can say that it's one of the most important hotel chain in Europe. They've got about 400 hotels in almost 20 countries with more than 18 employees. They've got many hotels, different hotels, from specialized business and conference hotels as the Rebuilding Youth Hotel with more than 400 rooms, to a hotel like NH National, located here in Madrid, in an emblematic building of Madrid of 1920. NH chain is also really aware of the environmental and energy efficiency. As you can see on the pictures, many of their hotels are sustainable buildings, they have so many green rooms all over their hotels. Well, as you can see, I don't know if you can see the picture very well because it's a bit small, but they have installed like solar filters for windows, illumination, timetable, sustainable parking, free recharging points, a lot of things. And in green rooms as well, automatic curtains, Recock project, tested furniture. I think everyone knows NH hotels. Next slide, please. Thank you. According to this very right policy, they set out on 2008 an ambitious environmental plan of 4 years, from 2008 to 2012, with a clear objective, focused on the next areas: energy and water consumptions, CO2 emissions, and waste management. And what is the ambitious plan? Well, what is the ambitious plan for a chain hotel like NH? Well, to get at least a reduction of 20% in all of these 4 areas. Next slide, please. Well, here, as you can see on the slide, the full version of this plan is on their website. Well, here I cannot explain everything, every part of the plan because it's really complete. But I really recommend to all of you to get a bit of time to check it out. It's really interesting, and you can find the link right down on the slide. Well, and I really recommend to check it out. Next slide, please. Well, NH chain understood that monitor and manage the energy is one of the key to success, and Satel Spain was selected to achieve this plan. The challenge begins with 115 hotels here in Spain and 2 pilot projects in Netherlands and Italy. One of the, well, they are looking to expand the project internationally. That's why they start with those pilot projects in Netherlands and Italy. The project scope in terms of the data measurement follows to obtain information from fiscal meters, gas, water, and electrical sub-meterings. Well, here you can see, well, in the other slide you were watching, I just wanted to tell an anecdote. Here you can just see 12 hotels, but imagine what was to install 115 hotels here in Spain. Okay, we did that in 5 months. In 5 months, the initial deployment, and well, it was really hard, but really grateful, and I think we did a very good job. Next slide, please. What was the solution we offered to them? What was the solution they really wanted? Well, we thought that the best solution was to install our data logger as a concentrator of the measures of each hotel, 1 per hotel, which is in local connection to the fiscal meter, gas, water, and sub-metering. And a very important thing is that well, NH Hotel wanted to send the data being independent to their informatic systems without using their routers or the Wi-Fi of the hotels. That's why that data is sent by GPRS integrated into our data logger to Dexter Energy Managers, where through the complete solution that Dexter offers, NH can achieve the management and analysis of the data collected. Well, next slide, please. There we go. Well, now we're going to check the measures our data logger is able to get. We get data directly from the fiscal meters in Spain through the protocol IEC 807.5102, but it's also able to read other protocols used outside Spain, as DLMS or IEC 62056. That was a basic condition because well, NH they have an expanding plan, and it was really important for them to be able to read another protocols. From the fiscal meter, we get active and reactive energies, powers, power factors, currents, and voltages. Next slide, please. Regarding to gas monitoring, we can get the flow directly from pulses or through the corrector, depending on the kind of meter installed, depending on the kind of meter we find. All of them in compliance with the ATEX regulation for the protected area, as you know. Regards to the water, we have to say that we measure directly from the pulses as well. And I want to emphasize our radio solutions, which make the installation so much easy. And using batteries because, well, as you know, we normally do not find power supplies in this shower where the meters of water normally are. Next slide, please. Well, next step, once this phase was totally completed, we focused on sub-metering. We can install additional meters connected to the data logger by cable or radio, usually between 4 and 20 meters, and well, giving additional information about sub-metering such as lighting, air conditioning, fridges, or even cookers, bakeries, etc., depending on the needs of the customer, of course. For instance, Eurobuilding Hotel monitor on Dexter 18 measures. A significant fact is that Eurobuilding Hotel was one of the first hotels of the world which got the ISO 50001 certificate, monitoring the sub-metering on Dexter platform. Next slide, please. Well, here we have a monitoring system diagram where you can see all the meters, and as you can see how the data logger is the heart of the system. It concentrates all the data collected from the different meters in order to send it to Dexter for the management of them. Next slide. Well, if until now we have been talking about the importance of the measurement, now we want to stand out the importance of the management and analysis of the data, where Dexter offers a complete software solution to carry it out easily. Data is sent automatically to Dexter every 15 minutes. Depending on the person who is using the software, Dexter gives from a global vision of through a monthly report with an advanced electricity bill for the area manager, or to have access into the dashboard for daily monitoring and alarms. Very, very, very useful to maintenance managers. There are more than 130 users actively using the platform every day. Next slide. Thank you. Well, here you can see the target of 25% is achieved thanks to the improvement of the equipment and thanks to use the management energy system, as you can see on the slide. Really important, both of them. Next slide, please. We have a picture taken from the MH Hotel where it shows that with the solution provided by Dexman Sattel Spain, the initial target of 20% was exceeded. The customer achieved an impressive 25%. All of this data you can find it on the website. If you can check it out, it's really interesting. So next slide, please. Well, we can classify the benefits for the hotel owner in two parts. Management of the electricity bill. Well, we get an advanced electricity bill, really helpful for accounting provisions. Optimization of the contracted power. Here, as you know, in Spain, this is a really important thing because it's the contracted power is a big part of the bill. So as much as you can adjust the power contracted, avoiding really expensive penalties, they are really expensive, as much money as you can save. So we get that in more than 30% of the hotels in NH. We could adjust that power contracted, so they could save a lot of money. Okay, and well, about optimization of, no, wait, thank you. Optimization of electrical contracting, choosing the most suitable electricity tariffs, incorrect bills, and facility the management claim. Well, for example, a few months ago, we detected an incorrect bill from the utility. Okay, they overcharged to our customer just 11,000 euros. Nothing. The good point of this is that you have all the reports, so it's really easy and effective to claim to them. Okay. The second part of the consumption control, you get an evolution of the consumption, measuring every saving you do through the sub-metering, benchmarking between hotels, identify good and bad habits. Here there is one anecdote as well. We remember where we detected that someone in one hotel was using an oven of 60 kilowatts to make a single pizza. Imagine the most expensive pizza in history. And well, finally, with fault detections allows you to anticipate, for example, with reactive energy consumptions. And well, until here our presentation. I hope you like it, and thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Eduardo, for that presentation on NH hotels, and I think there's some very impressive savings that you had there, 25%, and it also shows the value, the power that you get by adding the sub-metering within a hotel or any facility really above the standard fiscal meters, because it gives you that ability to look at different areas of the building to get those to know where you should be looking. Obviously, the 60 kilowatt oven to be able to kind of understand that it's that circuit that's being used to see where the energy is. But above that, also to be able to.
Information is power.
Go ahead, Eduardo.
No, I was saying that
and the sub-metering
power.
also allows the M&V project. Yeah, and it gives you the ability to do the return on investment on different technologies in different areas of the hotel to see whether or not that's suitable to be rolled out to other places within the M&V project. So that's perfect. So thank you, Eduardo, for that.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to move on to Gary Bark, the Managing Director of Optimized Buildings, and look at the work that they did on the Radisson Blu hotels in the UK. So go ahead, Gary.
Okay, thanks very much, Steve. I'm struggling some of the slides, Steve, so I'm going to go off my PowerPoint. If you can just, I'm assuming we're starting on the title slide.
Yes, go ahead. I'll move the slides forward for you, Gary.
Perfect. So if we can go on to the first slide that describes a little bit about the project. Well, the background to the project really is that this hotel was built 3 years ago. It was built predominantly to be a very green and sustainable hotel in the centre of the East Midlands in the UK. It is a BREEAM excellent rated building. So, and that was part of the planning permission to get the hotel to be built in the first place. There are 218 bedrooms. It's a 4-star hotel located, for those of you that know the area, right next to East Midlands Airport, right between Derby, Leicester and Nottingham. As part of achieving that sustainability criteria, they've actually installed a CHP plant which will actually generate enough electricity and a little bit more to sustain the whole hotel. It's also got a trend building management system We've got around 45 sub-meters, and then we've also got the fiscal meters as well, all of which we are pulling in to 2 core platforms that we're using. The first platform is Dexel for AM&T, and that is the platform we're using to monitor energy profiles and do all the necessary data analysis around energy. The second platform is an analytics platform that look at the building services, the HVAC systems, the BMS, and be able to understand where the problems and the issues are as the hotel is being operated. And we deliver that as a managed service for the client. So we've sort of become, on behalf of the client really, a combination of a consultant, a trusted advisor, and an energy solutions partner all in one. The net results of all of this is that we've saved the hotel year on, by taking a look at what we've done so far. And this has only been implemented for about 3 months since we actually started the optimization process. But over that 3-month period, if we compare the same period to last year, we've actually got a 30% saving in consumption. And I'll go on to tell you a little bit of how we've managed to achieve that. So go to the next slide, Steve. This is actually, as those of you that are familiar with Dexel will see, that this is one of the analysis pages. This is actually showing us the green line is actually showing the electricity consumption combined with the CHP consumption, because on this particular hotel we can't just look at the fiscal electricity meter, because we need to combine it with the CHP. So when we look at those two together is what gives us the total kilowatt hour consumption of the hotel. So we take the fiscal reading as well as the CHP and combine the two together. And the green line is where they were a year ago, and the blue line is where they are today. And as you'll see, right at the end there, it's actually gone up beyond where it was this time last year, and that's because we've had over the last 2 weeks, unfortunately, they've had an issue with the CHP plant. But the net result of this so far is the combined CHP and grid power is currently down over that 3-month period by about 16.66% so far. Next slide, Steve. Okay. This is showing the cumulative summation of very similar data, but this is looking at the gas. So I've displayed this in a slightly different way, just to give you an idea of how we look at it. We look at both as a profile, like you saw on the last one, as well as the cumulative summation of the total. And the gas is where we've made significant savings. Part of the challenge on this hotel was that the CHP plant, the absorption chiller, the electric screw chillers, the BMS system, sub-meters, all of them were commissioned when the project was finished. Unfortunately, none of them were commissioned together as a system. And that's where we managed to get a lot of the efficiencies, by properly making the absorption chiller work with the CHP, which is doing the heat exchange in for whether we're using that for heating or cooling to be able to supply the hotel. So because we've now managed to optimize all of those and pull those together as a system, the net impact is that the gas consumption has considerably gone down. And you can see from that, the gas is actually down 41% compared to where it was over the same period last year. Next slide, Steve.
Okay.
This is just showing us another example of, over the first month period, again on the gas, profiling it against the same baseline for the previous year. We actually managed to save them about £3,000 over over a 28-day period. And that's just giving you an example of what the screenshot looks like. Next slide, Steve. What we're also doing, which is important when we're doing the energy management profiling and delivering this as a managed service, is to profile this data against temperature. So we actually pull in a weather feed into Dexcel, as well as pulling the feeds in from the Trend BMS for certain aspects as well. And what this is actually demonstrating is the orange bar chart there is the grid and the CHP added together, and then comparing that with temperature. Next slide, Steve. We do exactly the same with the boilers. Each of those lines represents boilers 1, 2, and 3. We normalize that against temperature as well. Obviously, we should see a particular profile of that. The hotel isn't running at its absolute optimum yet. We've got a 30% saving over that 3-month period, but we feel that there is still more yet to be had. So more efficiencies that we're going to be tapping into over the next few months. Next slide, Steve.
Yep.
The next one's just showing us some of the dashboards that we're using out of Dexcel, just to give the chief engineer and the general manager a quick overview of what's happening at any point in time. This is actually showing the leisure facility, which has got a couple of air handling units, and obviously the pool plant, where they can actually see pretty much real time, 15-minute interval data to be able to show whether the sauna is running, whether the pool plant is running, where they are compared with this time yesterday, last week, last month, and similar period last year. The next slide is not a Dexcel slide. This is another platform that we use to be able to do analytics on building management systems, HVAC, and building services. Generally, in most buildings, that represents around 40% of the energy spend. In hotels, it's higher than that generally, especially when you've got leisure facilities and pools. So we're probably looking at more of the 40 to 60% dependent upon the hotel. And what this application does, another cloud-based application, it's taking a lot of data from the building management system and pushing that information up into the cloud and running it through intelligent analytics. And those analytics are looking for things that are going wrong in the way that the hotel is operating. So we'll be looking for things like air handling units that might have a heating valve and a cooling valve that are open at the same time, but it's only between the hours of 2 and 4 a.m. in the morning that maybe an engineer would miss normally. And we're tracking those, and where possible, we're allocating a cost of what that issue is actually worth to the hotel and to the bill payer, and whether that's worth rectifying. So those graphs are showing, firstly, we can show by location where the site is. We can look at how many of those faults have occurred over the last 30 days. We also track those in 3 ways. The first is through energy, the second is through comfort, and the third is through maintenance. So if you go on to the next slide, Steve, this is actually showing that for the Radisson Hotel, where we've got the application installed, this has actually got that top one there has got a certain amount of cost associated with that problem that's occurring over the month. So we can look at that cost on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. It's got an energy rating of 10 and a maintenance rating of 6. So they're the sort of faults that come at the top of that list to be able to get rectified quickly. So this is not an alarm. It's not like a BMS system telling us the boiler's gone into fault, the chiller's failed, or anything like that. This is an event-based system that more of those events that occur, the more it's costing the business. So if we go on to the next slide, Steve.
Yep.
So in summary, we've implemented Dexcel to monitor, analyze, and enable us to take action. We're also using that to generate the monthly reports to the management of the hotel and track the success of this optimization. The analytics are helping us achieve that through our remote managed service offering. Everything that we do is driven off an ROI for the client. So whatever we put forward, we always put a business case associated with that. So he's always looking for, you know, is this going to give me a payback in 3 months, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? So we present it in that way so a business decision can be made. And the net result of that is that we've managed a 30% reduction over that initial 3-month period. As far as what's next, it's not completely optimized yet. The challenge with all of these systems, any building can be optimized. The key challenge to it is how you keep, and that's why we put the software platforms in place to be able to continually monitor, sure that they don't slip back to how they were. So some of the things that we're looking at doing next, we're looking at around 100 kilowatts we can potentially export back to the national grid from the CHP plant. Right now the load is running at about 170, 180 kilowatts, and it's a 280 kilowatt engine. It has got, in the UK, we have something called a G59 connection, which means that we can export back to the grid. It has that license. So 100 kilowatts could potentially go back into the grid, and we're just looking at the economics behind that. We're also looking at integration with the Fidelio system so that we can make sure that rooms are not being heated and cooled when they're not occupied. We've certainly got further savings with a few tweaks that we want to do on the building management system. And then, as I said earlier, we want to retain those savings that have already been generated. So hopefully that's given everybody a little bit of a quick 10-minute overview as to what we've done at the Radisson Blu Hotel. And even in those hotels that are BREEAM excellent, there's still huge opportunities for savings as we've been able to prove. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Gary. I was going to point out that that building that you're saving over 40% of year-on-year gas, and it was 16% on the grid electricity usage, and that's a BREEAM, grid and CHP.
BREEAM excellent. That's as high as you can get.
Yeah, and it kind of shows that all these buildings, although they're built like that, if quite often, as you were pointing out, all the systems within that have been specified and installed independently. So there's obviously a huge opportunity, even on a 3-year-old building, to be able to go in, optimize, and save energy. So it's not just looking at an aging portfolio of buildings. It's even these new ones which have been designed to be energy efficient are still there, able to be optimized further, as you've shown, Gary.
Correct. And I think just one final point is that the hotel general manager was really struggling in where should his baseline be for this new hotel, because he got nothing to go off. And that was part of the challenge, really, because if he knew that 3 years ago it was running at so many kilowatts per square meter or so many kilowatts per room, he knows that he could get it back there. But with this one, he didn't have a baseline. And that's what we're achieving now.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you, Gary. Okay, so that's covered off on the presentations on the hotels. Really, now it's opening up to you, the audience, with any questions you have to the panel to ask about that. If you wanted to type your question into the questions panel, and send that over, we'll pick that up and ask any questions there to the panels. And I think there has been 2 questions typed into the chat box. So there's a question. First question is to Gary, and it's just being asked: is it possible to extend this optimized buildings model to a hotel that doesn't have CHP?
Yes, absolutely. It's not just hotels that we're doing. We're actually doing generally commercial buildings, schools, hospitals, universities, and we're finding that typically we're able to generate a return on investment of less than 12 months in most buildings that we go into. So the answer to that is absolutely yes. Most of them don't have CHPs. In fact, this was the first one that we come across that did have a CHP. But the opportunities for getting those assets and systems performing as they should be in what we found to be almost every single building we go into is vast. You know, we see a lot of people will put photovoltaics in and voltage optimization and LED upgrades, but the reality of it is a lot of the HVAC and the BMS systems are running poorly in most buildings, and that's what we focus on.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. There are a number of questions that have been asked. I don't think we'll be able to get through them all. Let's have a look out for some in here. So let's have a look. So there's a question. I think this is relating to the optimized buildings presentation. It's just asking to know the gas company name and who was supporting the process, and the boiler manufacturer. So I don't know if you're aware of that Gary.
The energy is procured through an independent energy broker. I can't exactly remember who the supplier of the electricity and gas is. On the CHP, which might be how the question was intended, is who's actually supplying the gas to the CHP. It's actually not a gas CHP. It's a bio oil CHP. So they have deliveries of oil in big tankers every couple of weeks. It's not a cheap oil. I think generally these are sort of in the order of 75 to 80 pence per litre. But what it is, it's a complete waste product, which means they get, in the UK, we have something called the Renewable Obligation Certificates, the ROCs, and it's those ROCs that make paying that sort of price for oil viable. So it's the renewable element that then gets traded through the ROC certificate, which brings the actual CHP, the maintenance, the oil, and the delivery of that power down to about 8.5 pence per kilowatt. I don't know whether that answers the question, Steve, but
Perfect.
that was my best attempt.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks, Gary. I've got there's a question here as well, probably for Eduardo on the NH hotels. It was just asking what was the return on investment of the NH project, and what were the best and worst return on investments per hotel? Eduardo, are you able to answer that question?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can you repeat the question, please, Steve? I didn't hear very well.
So it was on the NH hotels.
Yeah.
What was the return on investment of the work that you did? Someone also asked a question about seeing the link to the environmental plan, so I believe that's up on screen.
Okay,
and which were the best and worst performing hotels within the NH portfolio?
Well, it's not really big investment. As I said, we could get 25% of target, which is an impressive benefit for the hotel. And the good point is that the cost of the installation, they pay back. They get a payback in just 12 months. So it's not really expensive if you compare it with the benefits that you are gonna get.
Yes. Yeah.
Hello?
Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, another question was from Guillermo. Was just asking both to Eduardo and to Gary, what do you see as the key success factors for making such savings as you were showing?
Well, I think the key of savings is to have a good installation of hardware, and then to have a good management of the data get. If you can check all the data and you can know, as I said, the information is power, so you can save a lot of money. Here in Spain, as I said, you have a power contracted that if you go over that line, you get a really expensive penalty. So if you can adjust your consumption to this line, you are gonna get a very important benefit.
Perfect. I don't know if Gary's still on the line to answer that from his part. Well? Yes. Okay.
Yep. So
I guess from what the key success factors.
Yeah. So from our perspective, I would put it into sort of 3 core categories. The first one is around having the support of the hotel, the general management, to be able to believe in this and make it happen, and for them to believe enough that they're prepared to allocate the budget to see the results come through. And we have done that in a phased approach, so it wasn't that they spent all the money and then just hoped everything would work. We've done it in a very pragmatic approach where we've spent a bit of money, we've proven the savings, we've gone to the next stage, spent another bit more money, got some more savings, etc. The second part is to have an organisation that really does understand the application and how it should perform, and then be able to drive the other contractors to be able to deliver the solution as to how it needs to be ultimately operating. And that goes all the way from the chiller manufacturers to the CHP provider, to the people providing the brokerage on the utilities, the maintenance company, the BMS company, etc. And we've got a good team that we've managed to pull all that together with. And then the third element is having the technology and the platforms in place to provide a continuous analysis of data and what's happening with the building, so that we can identify issues as they occur and rectify them quickly.
And just one other directed for NH hotels, but I guess it's as applicable to the Radisson as well. But on the NH hotels, was there any implementation of solar power on that, Eduardo? Mm-hmm. Or any renewable energies in total as well?
It was. They've got, as I said...
So was there any...
Hello?
Go ahead, Eduardo. Eduardo, was there any solar power?
I didn't hear you anything, sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
No, I don't hear you.
On the NH hotels?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? On the NH project, was there any solar power projects implemented?
I can't hear
Eduardo?
you. Sorry, Steve.
Okay.
I can't hear you very well.
Gary, can you hear?
Yeah, I can
the questions being asked?
I can.
Sorry. I guess from the Radisson side, were there any renewables or any solar power?
Well, the renewables
project?
The renewables is through the CHP. and the oil that powers the CHP that ultimately delivers all the electricity to the hotel.
Okay, perfect.
Steve?
I guess we should. We're getting, yes,
Steve?
Eduardo, can you hear us now?
Now I can hear you. Sometimes.
Okay, now
I
you
don't
can
know
hear.
what's going on.
It was just asking. It was just asking
Yeah.
about any solar power implemented at the NH hotels.
Yeah. Well, this is that's a part. Can you hear me or not?
Yes, we can hear you, Eduardo.
Okay. Yeah, I was saying that it's a part of the new part of the project. They are installing solar power, and one part of our solution is to monitorize that part of the renewable energy.
Perfect. Okay, I think as we're getting to the bottom of the half hour, I think we should wrap that up. So I'd just like to say thank you to Eduardo and to Gary for taking time out to speak on this presentation. I hope everyone found it useful, and we have a list of the questions that have been asked, so we can come back on those individually if we need to. So thank you very much for your attendance today.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.